What can you do to add value to your commercial real estate? On this channel, we are going to start talking a little bit more about some tips and tricks and things that building owners can do to add value to their commercial real estate. We focused a lot on the buyer side, but we want to make sure we give some information to commercial real estate owners, to potential sellers, because we work with them as well. This is Commercial Real Estate Explained. Thank you for tuning in. In this one, we're going to talk about what can you do to add value to your building. The first tip, we're going to go through these briefly, and then I'm going to have a video on each. The first tip is going to be ask your tenants. This can be a little bit of a slippery slope, but oftentimes if you go to your current tenants and you say, hey, no promises, but if there's some things that could be improved at this building, what would they be? If there were some things that would, help your business, what would those be? Now, get ready for a laundry list and get ready for some potential unhappy campers to complain about roof leaks and that sort of thing. But getting that information from them can be extremely valuable. We'll talk about that in another video. Number two is make strategic repairs. You don't want to necessarily go through and make gold-plated repairs to absolutely everything. You don't want to over-improve a building, but you want to make a list of the things that you would like to improve, starting with anything that's desperately needs to be repaired. And you kind of work through that list strategically and make your building a little better. We can talk about that in another video. Number three, gradually increase rents. So obviously tenants don't like this conversation, and I'm not saying you should go out and immediately jack up all of your rents. That, as you know, can lead to vacancy. It can lead to unhappy tenants. But as a building owner, you can't be afraid to gradually and reasonably increase rents. I know a lot of landlords, their whole mentality is, I haven't raised rents in 10 years and I still have my tenants. And certainly understand that, but with inflation and the cost of labor and materials, it's tough to just kind of let that status quo sit. If you're trying to optimize the value of your commercial real estate, thinking about gradually increasing your rents is something you have to do. Number four is fully capture pass-throughs. This is something a lot of landlords, especially mom and pop landlords, don't always give the attention that they should. They sign a lease, the tenant starts paying their base rent, and they just kind of forget about it. Oftentimes those leases allow for certain pass-throughs. We can get into it further in another video, but every once in a while, you want to take a step back, look at your leases and ask yourself, is the tenant paying for everything that their contract says they should be paying for? I'm not saying charge them for things that you're not supposed to. I'm just saying make sure you understand what you're not charging them for at the very least, and ask yourself, is it worth charging for that going forward? So once again, think about pass-throughs. Number four is going to be clean up your leases. Oftentimes, especially mom and pop owners, they'll find a lease online or they'll use a lease that they've been using for 40 years. It's not very thorough. It's missing things. There's typos. I often encourage building owners, if you want to add some value, think about retrofitting your leases in a sense. Get a nice, new, clean, thorough lease form. And then next time your tenant has a renewal, use that form and start to get all of your tenants on that same form. There's probably things that you're missing in your current leases, and vague or incomplete leases really can be a huge problem if things start to go sideways. Also, as far as value goes, a buyer is going to want nice, clean leases, so it doesn't hurt to have those. Lastly, consider laser measuring your building. This is something that can be a little bit expensive, but oftentimes people that have owned commercial real estate for a long time, they may not have up-to-date floor plans. They're as-built floor plans. They might not know exactly how big their spaces are. The regulation, BOMA specifically, does change from time to time. So certain common area things that you used to be able to include in load factor, maybe you can't anymore. Or maybe things that you didn't count could be included and you could actually increase your rentable square footage. You're not going to know any of that if you don't laser measure your space. So that's another thing that I recommend looking into. I know that was a whole lot to take in. We're going to do a video on each one of those. Once again, we're trying to give some information to current building owners to help them maximize the value of their building. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you got some value, please hit subscribe and like. Thanks and have a great rest of your week.